The Big Sleep came out in 1946, is directed by Howard Hawks, starring the iconic duo of Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. Is this a total mess, or is it a lot of fun? We are going to get into it on the Golden Hour Film Podcast for week 2 of Noirvember 2025. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Golden Hour Film Podcast. My name is Harry Bailey. I am joined by my co-host, not guest host, Shane Mulvaney. Shane, we are 2 weeks into Noirvember 2025. How are you?
Pretty good, yeah. Looking forward to getting into Howard Hawks. Obviously, I think we've only covered one of his movies before, Ball of Fire. So, obviously, like one of the preeminent American directors. In my opinion, one of the greatest. Director. Yeah, one of the greatest American directors as well, in my opinion. So, obviously, I'm sure this is the second of several more that we're going to be getting into it down the months on the Golden Hour Film Podcast. But yeah, this is obviously a big one.
Yeah, 100%. Howard Hawks is a huge director. I could see us doing a litany of other Howard Hawks films.
Yep.
That being said, it's Noirvember, so we're specifically doing film noir. Last week we did 2 episodes. Yes, 2. We did Stranger on the Third Floor, and we did Gilda. This week is The Big Sleep, and if you want to figure out what we're doing next, got to look at our Instagram and got to look at the big board to try and figure it out for yourself. There's a bunch of clues, a bunch of red herrings, but yeah, try and figure it out for yourself. In the meantime, Shane, The Big Sleep, it amongst other things sparked one of the most controversial tabloid affairs in Hollywood history, but this film is a lot more than that. I have
actually,
to say,
to
I will hold my hands up first.
Sorry to cut across you. They were actually officially a couple by this point, Bogey and Bacall. It was actually To Have and Have Not, which is their previous film that they did with Howard Hawks. That's the film that they...
Oh, I thought it was the making of this film where... I think they got married during the making of this film, did they not?
Yeah, during the making of, I believe, because it was To Have and Have Not.
I think it was still an affair when they started making the film.
Right, okay, maybe that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine having that much chemistry with your co-star.
Yeah.
Can't be said about some of the other noirs we've covered.
No, sure.
Looking at you, Stranger on the Third Floor. But yeah, I'll hold my hands up. Last year, Noirvember, I said that I was not a massive fan of The Big Sleep, and I am not really that surprised to say that I have changed my mind. I feel like most times when I've seen a movie and I say I'm not a massive fan of it, I then watch it for the podcast and then have a newfound appreciation for it, and it's happened once again. I very much enjoyed The Big Sleep. But Shane, what about you? In a spoiler-free review, what are your thoughts on The Big Sleep?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I think a lot more than you did. My first time I watched this, I know that you weren't as high on it on your first watch. Surprise!
First time around now.
First time around, yeah. So, yeah, this is my first rewatch, and yeah, it definitely holds up in my opinion. I appreciate it and enjoy it even more. It is intentionally kind of meandering and ambiguous, and it goes into a bunch of different dark alleyways and there's not really a point to certain characters and certain scenes, but I think that's very much intentional. It is a Raymond Chandler. It's based on a Raymond Chandler novel, which that's kind of something that Raymond Chandler is known for as well, is those kind of avenues and stuff that he would go down, that he would just kind of write himself into these and figure a way out of them. And yeah, it's not, especially like if you're a PI, you're gonna go down certain avenues that don't really have anywhere to go. Like you're going to go down, or if you're investigating a crime or some sort of doing some sort of investigation, like you're going to have avenues that you go down that you explore and that don't really have anything at the end of them. So from that point of view, you could say it's almost more realistic. But yeah, I mean, Bogey and Bacall's chemistry is sizzling. It's absolutely ridiculous at times. Considering, let's be honest, he's 25 years her senior, and yeah, it wasn't exactly something that was popular at the time, and I'm sure it still wouldn't be these days either. But yeah, there you go. It's also got our boy Elisha Cook Jr., certainly Harry's boy Elisha Cook Jr. in a
Yes.
supporting role.
And who does he play in this movie, Shane?
He plays a guy called Harry.
He plays a guy called Harry.
There you go.
Perfect movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've totally changed my tune.
Yeah. There you go. But yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it. I did find that it was more accessible and more understandable second time around. Like, I didn't think there was there were as many kind of, as much as I'm talking about these avenues and stuff and these kind of meandering plot lines. Like, it definitely is a bit meandering, but I definitely think there's more connective tissue on a second watch than there is the first time. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I think it's very much quintessential noir, pot boiler noir. Like it's trench coats, it's hats, it's people smoking in darkly lit rooms. It's kind of heavies, kind of.
It's got a lot of the noir talk.
Yeah,
a lot of noir talk in this. A lot of noir one-liners,
yeah,
especially from Bogey and Bacall. A lot of noir talk in this.
Yeah, it's got heavies who are issuing thinly veiled threats. Yeah, it's got everything you kind of want from a noir, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this movie. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. First time round, I wasn't a massive fan of the fact that the plot does kind of disperse into a bunch of different. As you said, it is more realistic when you look at it from that point of view, but he does kind of go down a lot of routes to get to the end of this case. I like as well, upon researching this film, that when editing this, they chose to edit out the scene where Bogey explains the whole movie. Obviously, when a character explains the whole movie, that's crap anyways. But I particularly appreciate it for this because that's them, particularly Howard Hawks, leading into and very much, going for the idea that it's not really meant to make perfect sense, but like what cases in real life, if you're a detective, are going to make perfect sense to you. Nothing's that clear. Yeah, I really like Bogey's performance in this in particular. He definitely bogeys it up in a great way. His one-liners are great. His delivery's great. He's got that sort of cadence about him. He has that gravitas and that gravel to him that we said that Glenn Ford and that other guy didn't have in the previous two film noirs. Shane, my question for you this week: what is the name of the guy from Stranger on the Third Floor? Name that actor.
You love stitching me up. I think his surname is Garfield. Is it John? No, it's not John Garfield, is it? No. Oh, I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. I have no idea.
I will tell you now, because I also don't know. The lead actor in Stranger on the Third Floor, John Maguire. Not far off. Not far off.
Halfway.
Yeah, Bogey has that sort of gravel and suaveness to his performance, that kind of cheekiness to his performance that those performances didn't have, and why they kind of fell flat to me. He is fantastic. His chemistry with Bacall, enough said, in my opinion. Like, they are just amazing on screen together. Obviously, Elisha Cook Jr. is in this and plays one of the few redeemable characters in this film as well. Always knew you could trust those Harrys.
Just to bump in there, I will be actually releasing a Howard Hawks
Deadly
Dozen video. Yes. Yeah, very, very imminently. Probably as soon as this episode comes out, I'd say. Should be available Perfect. To go. So yeah, like if you're watching this and that sounds like it's up your alley, do check it out.
Yeah, also, if you're on YouTube, please like this video, comment on the video what you thought, have a guess as to what we're covering next week. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., share it with one of your friends who you think might like the pod. But yes, Shane, it is time to take a trip in the Times Machine. Because yes, we have someone else's opinion. This is a new segment as of Noirvember. We'll see if it sticks, where we take a look at the Times Machine, as the New York Times call it, and good old Bosley Crowther, good old cheerful Bosley Crowther is back on the podcast. We're going to see if Bosley, who, for those of you who don't know, was a very big deal at the time when it comes to film reviews, we're going to see if he liked it, if he dunked on it, or what. So Shane, my question to you is, you're 0 for 2 so far with guesses. Did Bosley Crowther like The Big Sleep?
I think, based on the fact that it's a big American director who had done a lot of good stuff at this point, and a big star in Humphrey Bogart. I'm going to, yeah, I'm, maybe it's because I enjoy it, and I'm hoping that maybe he enjoys it well. I'll say he gave it a positive review.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to paraphrase as always. This is actually a much longer review than his usual ones. But I am gonna paraphrase. If somebody had only told us, the scriptwriters preferably, just what it is that happens in Warner's and Howard Hawks' The Big Sleep, we might be able to give you a more explicit and favourable report of this overage melodrama
God.
which came yesterday to the Strand. But with only the foggiest notion of who does what to whom, and we watched it with the closest attention, we must be frankly disappointing about it. For The Big Sleep is one of those pictures in which so many cryptic things occur amid so much involved and devious plotting that the mind becomes utterly confused. But he then explains the plot. For all that, it's likely to leave you confused and dissatisfied. And by the way, would somebody also tell us the meaning of that title, The Big Sleep?
Boolsley Crowther, more like. My God. My God.
Yet again, Bosley Crothers shits on what we've covered on the podcast. Tune in next week, or tune in on Friday to see if Bosley Crowther likes any movie. He has hated every movie we've covered so far.
I can understand
But,
Stranger
yes.
Things at least. I can understand his reservations about that.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
Hilarious, though.
Yeah. It's very, very funny. In fairness, he's not
That
the
was
only.
the Times Machine.
In fairness, he's not the only critic to have that kind of reservation about it, which is that it's very, like it doesn't exactly tie up some of its plot lines in the neatest of bows. So,
No.
but I kind of appreciate that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it makes it stand aside
Yeah.
from the other films noir that tie up everything in a nice little bow, like Stranger on the Third Floor, which tied that bow way too tight.
Way too tightly. Yeah.
And now it's time for the main event, time to talk about The Big Sleep. Shane, what is The Big Sleep all about?
So The Big Sleep is about a private detective called Phillip Marlowe, who is hired by a guy called General Sternwood to investigate his assistant is cab driver, kind of all of the above, but who has gone missing, and he kind of gets Marlowe on the case because as well he thinks that his young daughter might also be kind of caught up in this a little bit as well. So he's being blackmailed by a guy called Geiger, this General Sternwood, and he basically wants
General Sternwood, who has already appeared this Noirvember. Did you recognise him, Shane?
Is he in Gilda?
He is the incredibly memorable district attorney from Stranger on the Third Floor.
Oh, right. There we go.
That movie is, like, we covered it last Tuesday. No idea what happened in that movie. It's so forgettable.
Yeah.
Other than, obviously, Peter Lorre. What a guy. Incredible. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's fine. So that's essentially the gist. He sees this girl called Carmen, who's the younger daughter of General Sternwood, and she is clearly quite flirtatious, even though, she's obviously bogey's like more than twice her age, I'd say. But it's implied that that's not the only kind of older guy that she has kind of flirted with and stuff. And then he also gets told that the older daughter, Vivian, wants to speak to him, who was obviously played by Lauren Bacall. And then we get the first of a bunch of scenes of them where they just look like they want to tear each other's clothes off, which is crazy. It's again, like I said, it's sizzling romantic chemistry between the two of them. But she is she's essentially kind of asking why her father wants Marlowe to kind of take on this case, and she seems to have a bit of an ulterior motive, but I think Bogey knows this, Marlowe knows this, but he doesn't give her much to kind of nibble on, and they just kind of have this whole, there's a will they won't they, obviously, but there's also kind of who's going to kind of blink first and give away more information than they actually want to. So
This is going to be a tricky one not to just talk about in like sequence order,
Yeah.
because most characters' involvements in this film, bar 3 or 4, are very much tied to specific parts of the film.
Yep.
So, long story short, Bogey is looking, or Marlowe, I should say, who is a very famous
Yep.
fictional detective. Marlowe is looking for Geiger, but also worth noting, the last guy to go looking for Geiger is a former IRA man named Sean Regan, who is a friend of Marlowe's. So just keep it in the back of your mind that his friend Sean Regan has also effectively gone missing, but quite interestingly, whilst investigating the Geiger case. He thinks he's found Geiger, tells who he thinks is Geiger. Again, I'm saying this because even though we're in the spoiler territory, it's very much like left ambiguous until things are made definite in the film. It's not like, oh, that was Geiger.
Yep.
Like Marlowe throughout the films, until he figures out for certain who it was, kind of toys with the fact that it may have been Geiger, it may not have been Geiger, which kind of adds to the confusion of the film, which, you know, is a fairly realistic detective film, to be fair. But he tells who he thinks is Geiger home, only to hear a gunshot. He goes in, finds who he thinks is Geiger dead on the floor, and the sister, Carmen, is in the room, very much off her face. He also finds a camera that was pointed at her, and also hears/sees someone escape the building. So who he presumes to be Geiger is dead, and instantly this missing persons case has gone it was a blackmail case. This blackmail case has gone a whole other level now.
Yep.
So you've got Geiger's blackmailers, you've got this whole Sean case, you've got whatever's going on with both Vivian and Carmen, and poor old Phillip Marlowe has to just try and decipher all of this now for the rest of the film, and he doesn't have an easy time of it.
No, he manages to figure out that Vivian knows more about what's happened to Sean Regan than she's letting on. But then he gets a call, and the body of Owen Taylor, who is the chauffeur of General Sternwood, has been found at the pier. So someone's obviously off him. And turns out that he was in love with Carmen, the younger daughter. A little bit creepy, obviously, but there we go. He was in love with Carmen, so that kind of throws up a whole bunch of other suspicions as well as to, is he involved in what happened to this other guy who was murdered, and etc. etc. So it's obviously, like you say, it's kind of as clear as dishwater at this point. It's not it's Vivian's kind of obviously taking the mick out of Marlowe as well, because he's struggling at this point to kind of piece it all together. But then a guy called Mr. Mars shows up, and his wife has actually ran off with Sean Regan by the sounds of it. So him and Marlowe have kind of a back and forth. It looks like he's going to kind of get Marlowe to call the police, or he's going to rough up Marlowe, or something's going on. But then they kind of come to an understanding of, right, well, we clearly want the same thing here, which is to find out what's going on, and stuff. And so they seem to kind of come to a truce. But who knows if he's to be trusted. That's another kind of spanner in the works for Marlowe. And then he goes to visit a guy called Joe Brody, who pulls a gun on him when he realised that Marlowe is that when Marlowe actually saw him ransacking Geiger's office with another guy. Marlowe kind of reveals that Brody shot Geiger, and he denies it. But then Carmen arrives, she pulls a gun on Brody, so they're all in this kind of apartment. And Marlowe wrestles the gun, and Vivian's like, oh, okay, right. I think at this point Vivian is clearly starting to kind of catch fields, if you want to call it that, for Marlowe, because he obviously got Carmen out of this sticky situation, and he clearly wants to kind of help out the family as well. But then just as all this is about to go down, then someone, there's a knock at the door. He goes over to Joe Brody, and he gets shot by an unknown assailant. Obviously Marlowe goes and pursues the guy, and he kind of waits in line, or he waits kind of out in the street then for the guy who he had seen previously, a guy called Carl Lundgren, who's a heavy of Mr. Mars. So he figures out that this guy is after killing Joe Brody for some reason. Again, we don't know why, and it's another kind of spanner in the works, and it's another kind of another thing that we need to kind of solve in this mystery.
Yeah, so it's worth noting Phillip Marlowe, very much the main character in this film. Vivian Sternwood, played by Lauren Bacall, very much a main character in this film. And then realistically, the other sort of main character, the probable main antagonist of the film, is Eddie Maris, who Shane just referenced there, who's played by John Ridgely, who weirdly, who he was in so many big films, and this is my first John Ridgely film, my only John Ridgely film I've seen. But I'm sure he will crop up on the podcast way more. He's in Arsenic and Old Lace, Roaring Twenties, A Place in the Sun, Greatest Show on Earth, They Drive by Night, Possessed, The Man Who Came to Dinner, They Die with the Boots On, etc. So I'm sure John Ridgely will appear on the podcast much more. A very good performance, very detestable performance as Eddie Mars. You can tell he's very sleazy. He keeps his cards close to his chest, and he clearly has something over Vivian because whenever they're talking about blackmail and stuff and they want to ransom, Vivian's instant response is that she's going to get money from Eddie Mars. So it's like, what's her connection to this guy who runs a gambling house and has these heavies around him and just is a generally sleazy guy. And yeah, Marlowe goes and investigates Eddie Mars, and yeah, Mars has some great bouncers. One of them, he basically just plays the two of them off each other, just makes them look like idiots. I wouldn't put them in the same stratosphere as Pastrami and Asma for all-time henchmen duos, but they're a fun duo in The Big Sleep. But yeah, in this gambling house, it's very clear Marlowe kind of gets stuff out of Eddie Mars, insinuates that he has something to do with the Sean Regan thing. Mars denies that his wife has run off with Regan. It's very clear that he's trying to pull wool over the eyes of Marlowe, and Marlowe sees through it. He also takes Vivian out of the place after she wins big, and someone pulls a gun on him, but Marlowe takes them out. But again, Marlowe clocks instantly that whole thing was set up to try and make it look like Vivian and Mars weren't in cahoots with each other. He was like that gun. I think he actually said the gun was empty. Did he?
Yeah.
That was pulled on Vivian. So like he knew straight away that the person who was there to kill Vivian on behalf of Mars was a bluffer to try and throw Marlowe off the scent. So at this point, Marlowe's got a list a mile long of names who he has to kind of check up on. But one thing he does know is that Vivian, who he now kisses at this point, and Mars have some sort of working or illegal relationship, so to speak. But yeah, that's the only thing that's like absolutely clear to Marlowe at this point, is that them two are definitely in cahoots. Having a breeze about anything else, but they're definitely in cahoots.
I do want to mention as well that Marlowe and Vivian go to dinner, and way of getting around the house code, obviously they have this amazing conversation where they use all these different innuendos, because obviously it couldn't be explicit back then, where they basically talking about but essentially horse riding, but yeah, it's use your imagination. Yeah. You know what I mean. So using all this kind of colorful language, very very funny and very amusing, and obviously smart as well, and plays on words and stuff like that. So. But yeah, Marlowe had kind of clocked as well that someone's been following him. This kind of green Volkswagen Beetle has been kind of following around, and it doesn't seem to be one of Mr. Mars's guys, and it doesn't seem to be kind of involved in any kind of anyone from the, say, police's office and stuff. So he's obviously he's not too sure about what this is. So he finally figures out that a guy called Harry Jones, the aforementioned Elisha Cook Jr., he finally figures out that this guy is...
He's tailing him again.
Yeah.
He's just always tailing Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Maltese Falcon shout out, yeah. So, yeah, he finds out that a guy called Sean Regan, the aforementioned again, Sean Regan, has been in an accident in Mexico, and Vivian says she's going to go down there and make sure he's okay. But then, as he's kind of tailing... then Harry Jones, these other two guys come and beat him up, Marlowe. And Harry Jones comes over and he actually helps him up, and he kind of helps him back to his apartment, where he's kind of, obviously, turns out he's maybe not the kind of shady guy that Marlowe was kind of thinking he was at the start. He turns out that he's with Agnes, who was the secretary to the guy who was
Geiger.
murdered earlier. Geiger, yeah, that's it. The secretary to Geiger.
Yeah, the easy way to think about this film is it's kind of split into thirds.
Yeah.
You've one team who is Geiger and his blackmailers, and they have all this info on the other characters. And then you've got Eddie Mars and his gangsters, and they're the ones who are going around offing people.
Yeah.
And then you've got Marlowe.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
And I guess the police, but like Marlowe.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, then it turns out that Jones is dating Agnes, or at least he thinks he's dating Agnes, and he wants $200 in exchange for her whereabouts, because then Marlowe can go out and basically get some info off of her. So Marlowe agrees to this because obviously it's going to help him kind of solve the case finally. So he goes to visit Jones, Harry Jones, at this agreed destination a little bit later, but it turns out that when he gets there, he's being kind of roughed up, and he's being beaten up, and obviously being held captive by a guy called Canino, who's another heavy of Eddie Mars's. And good for him, he actually manages to kind of pull the wool over Canino's eyes. He gives him some faulty information about where Marlowe is and stuff, and turns out that as well he had been given a spiked drink, Harry, by this guy Canino, because when Marlowe gets there, he only is able to kind of give him the kind of crucial information about kind of about the very, very key information before he actually does it.
What's interesting as well, very film noir of this film, very rough around the edges. Marlowe gets there long before Harry's made to drink the poison. He chooses to sit and let this whole thing unfold to try and get information out of the two of them at the same time. In a rosier film, shall we say, the hero would have stepped in, saved Harry at the last minute, punched the guy in the face. Him and Harry would have left. But no, he lets Harry drink the poison and die, which is very dark, but this is film noir. Everything's a bit dark, shall we say. Little tiny hint for yous. Friday we get a lot darker, but very film noir of this, for Marlowe to just be sat in the corner and let Harry drink the poison and die. But yeah, he finds out that Harry gave the other guy wrong information, and he gets the right information then, that he can go to the assistant, get information from her, because realistically this film is just about him going around getting information until shit happens, which eventually then sets him on course to go to the bad guys, where shit is about to go down big time.
So Marlowe then goes to this place that he had found out that Canino was going to. So it's this kind of garage, and when he gets there, this guy opens up. When he knocks on the door, this guy opens up and he pretends to have a flat tire, but Canino invites him in and says, listen, just help the guy out. But Canino already has the jump on Marlowe because he pulls a gun, and it turns out he knew who Marlowe was all along. And Marlowe's the one in a spot of butter. By the way, Vivian actually had also confessed to killing Sean Regan, but again, Marlowe straight away is like, no, you're bullshitting me, because I know that's not true.
Nah, you didn't.
So clearly, if she's willing to confess to a murder she didn't commit, she must be really in over her head, even more so than she already was. So she's obviously really kind of, Mars has her over a barrel one way or another, and he still doesn't really know why or how.
They, after Bogey gets into a gunfight with the goons that are there after Mars is on the way back, he and Vivian escape, and they set up a plan. They go back to Geiger's, where he calls Mars and sets up a final showdown, where he asks him where to meet, and then when he's unsure, he then suggests Geiger's house, so that Mars thinks that it's a last minute thing. They agree to meet I think they agree to meet in an allotted amount of time. Bogey hides in the corner, and then in 10 minutes, instead of say 45 minutes, 10 minutes later, Mars shows up, and Marlowe comes out, and yeah, at this point it's very much clear Marlowe's pretty much figured the whole case out.
Yeah.
They cut the scene where he explains everything, and it's amazing because he also knows that Mars has his heavies outside waiting for Marlowe to run out. So he disarms him, and then he makes Mars go out, and Mars is screaming, "Don't shoot, don't shoot," and he just gets riddled with bullets. And then when he realizes he's under fire, he calls one of his cop mates to then go out and arrest them from behind as well, catching them in the act of firing on an officer, firing on a private eye. And doesn't end with a big kiss or anything, but very much ends with Bogey and Bacall looking into each other's eyes, saying that they love each other.
Yeah.
And Carmen is free as well of all the strifes, because interestingly enough, Raymond Chandler, who wrote the book that this is based on, said that Carmen, who is played by Martha Vickers, he said that Martha Vickers' performance as Carmen, the sister, outshone Lauren Bacall so much that the studio demanded that most of her scenes be cut because Lauren Bacall was the star. So, which is hard to imagine as well, because Lauren Bacall puts in a killer performance. It's a really great performance. Yeah. She puts in a killer performance. But yeah, Raymond Chandler, who wrote the book that this is based on, said that actually Martha Vickers was infinitely better, and that most of her scenes were cut as a result of that. Which is a shame, because Martha Vickers never really went on to have a particularly notable career. She's not in, even like say John Ridgely, who is maybe not a name who many people listening would know. He has so many big credits to his name, whereas Martha Vickers, not so much, but just worth noting.
And we also never actually find out who killed Owen Taylor, the chauffeur. That's the one plot line that's left dangling. Like, it's insinuated that maybe it could have been like one of Mars's gangsters, or like it could have been one of Geiger's guys, but yeah, it's never actually explained. So I think it is interesting that there are just one or two little loose threads that are still hanging, and that is an investigation at the end of the day. Not everything is going to be explained and stuff, so you could maybe say it's more realistic from that point of view.
So yeah, we tried our best to explain the big sleep there, but more importantly, Shane, give us your actual review, your spoiler filled review of Howard Hawks' The Big Sleep.
Yeah, I really love this film. It's one of my favorite Howard Hawks films, and I've seen like 15 or 16 of his films. I gave it 4 stars, and that's the same rating I gave it the first time I watched it, but I appreciate it even more and rate it even more on this occasion, because it's easier to parse, easier to understand. Like I said, there are one or two plot lines left dangling and left kind of loose, but for the most part, it is, I think, easier to understand. And yeah, Bogey's great in the lead role. Lauren Bacall's great. They're great together. Like, in their scenes, they're just filled with like I said, chemistry, and kind of they just kind of bounce off each other so well. Elisha Cook Jr., always good to see him. Kind of being a bit of a weirdo every time he comes up there. But yeah, there we go. And yeah, just if you're a noir fan, then like, this is catnip, to be honest. Like, this is if you haven't seen The Big Sleep and you're a noir fan, you should go and check it out, because like, it's one of the noirs to ever noir. Like, well, come on, it's it's absolutely class. I think I love it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot more second time around. I actually would also implore anyone who weren't maybe blown away by The Big Sleep first time around to check it out a second time, because I think once you know what you're in for, you know that it's gonna be very hazy. It's very much more so about a good time rather than, actually focusing on a case and getting everything solved by the end. It's more about having a good time following a detective in a very moody film noir aesthetic, which Bogey is pretty much exactly what you would expect him to be. He puts a lot into this with his charisma, with his lines. His line delivery is fantastic. His chemistry with Lauren Bacall, I'll say it before, I'll say it again, is unbelievable, particularly in this film. I also thought that Lauren Bacall was amazing. She is an incredible actress who, again, we will cover so many more of her films on the podcast in future. As a matter of fact, how many Lauren Bacall films have we even covered on the
think this is
podcast?
the
Not
first.
many.
I actually do think this is the first.
That would be insane if it is the first.
Yeah, because she's obviously been in so many great stuff. But yeah, I think, as far as I remember, this is the first.
Yeah, this is our first Lauren Bacall film. That is crazy.
Yeah.
One that I watched not that long ago. Actually, she was in Misery, which I literally just watched like 2 weeks ago. She's very fun in that. But How to Marry a Millionaire, she's amazing in. But yeah, Lauren Bacall is definitely, without question, someone who we will cover lots more of on the podcast. As is Howard Hawks. Incredible direction, very moody, but very cool. It's a cool film noir. Again, as Shane said, I'll reiterate that point. If you are a film noir fan who hasn't seen The Big Sleep, you gotta check it out. And then, if you are not blown away, leave it a while and then just come back to it, knowing, because yeah, maybe if you don't know heading into this that it is going to be a very it's an absolute maze of a film with so many characters and names and places to go to, but ultimately it's more so just about following Phillip Marlowe, and that is a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I bumped this up from 3 stars all the way up to 4 stars, skipped the half, and I also could not recommend this film enough. And speaking of recommending films, Shane. I reckon it's time we talk about the films that we have watched recently. So go ahead, Shane. What have you watched recently?
Yeah, to be honest, not many. I did rewatch One Battle After Another because I loved it so much first time around, and surprise,
I am seeing it after recording
yeah,
today.
class. Oh man, I love it so
Finally.
much. I'm not going to say too much then in that case. But I'll reiterate everything I said last week or a couple of weeks ago when I first reviewed it. So yeah, go check that out. But like, it is my favorite film of the year. Oh man, it's so funny. It's so funny, and the car chase sequence is like, it just gets better and better. I can't even believe how good it is. It's amazing. Steve is a film starring Cillian Murphy, directed by Tim Milans, who they both did Small Things Like These, which is an Irish film that came out last year. This is so he's a Belgian, I think, director. So he's a headmaster of a kind of a reform school for obviously troubled teens who are kicked out of their regular schools and maybe don't really have anywhere else to go in the education system. You can tell that he clearly loves his students. This headmaster, but obviously they're dealing with a chronic lack of funding and kind of the threat maybe of even closing the school, and a TV crew is coming in on this one day because it's basically 24 hours in this guy's life, so it's following this guy in basically just a hellacious day, an absolute nightmare of a day when everything that could go wrong is going wrong, and he is also addicted to painkillers and alcohol. So yeah, you just got all this stuff going on. So he's a heart of gold, but he has all this stuff that he has to work out, and yeah, it's really, surprise, it's Cillian Murphy. Like, it's an amazing performance, really good film, would definitely recommend. And I rewatched Knives Out, which is probably like 4 or 5 times I've seen it now. Absolutely love it. One of my favorite murder mysteries.
So class.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just, every time I rewatch it, I appreciate even more the tight plotting of it. Like, it'll just lay out 1 or 2 little crumbs in the early act where maybe a line of dialogue or something in the background, and then come the final act, then it all pays off and they all coalesce together. I absolutely adore that film. Glass Onion, I also watched that as well. I rewatched that. I remember loving this when I went to see it in cinemas. It was only in cinemas very briefly. Loved it, and would definitely have had it like very much almost on a par when I was out. I did still enjoy it, but I didn't. I was surprised at how much it kind of dropped off for me. I still really enjoyed it, like I said, but it's a little bit long, and also the characters are like, I get both films. I think the characters are like rich assholes who basically they're kind of leeching off of one successful person, and so they, do you know what I mean? Like, they do have similarities from that point of view, but I think in this one maybe it's also the setting as well. Like, the first one has that kind of autumnal feel, like it's kind of damp and it's wet and it's in this kind of old kind of mansion. where Knives Out is in this kind of tropical island, and it's this like it's just all about excess, and it's all. I don't think the characters are quite as well drawn, and there's a couple of performances which don't really quite work for me. It's still good. Or sorry, it's still good. I still really enjoyed it, but yeah, it's not nearly as good as Knives Out in my opinion. On a rewatch, and yeah, that's basically all I've seen. Didn't have a chance to watch much this week.
Yeah, I've also watched a handful of films. I went back to one of the best directors working today's early films. I went back to Cloverfield, directed by Matt Reeves, and it is shocking to me that well, it's not shocking because it's Matt Reeves, but how even in 2008, 17 years ago, the genre of found footage horror was so overdone, so blasé. It was such a saturated genre, and he manages to just put so much life into it. There are some incredible shots in this, and yeah, it's a film that actually makes you care about the characters. Crazy that T.J. Miller puts in a good performance. Like just mad to see that happen. Yeah, the obviously the Statue of Liberty, unbelievable. Some of the scenes that happen are very surprising. No spoilers or anything, but just like these massive things that happen when the Cloverfield monster, are just catch you so off guard. It's a very human movie, and there's a particular shot of a white horse which I just thought was absolutely genius, and like such a such an unimportant shot to the plot, but such an important film to the message of the film. And it will actually stick with me for a long time. I'll never forget that shot of the white horse. I then watched Family Plot. I finally got around to Alfred Hitchcock's final film, and I must say, it is a very forgettable movie. Unfortunately, Hitchcock's last great film, in my opinion, now locked in, was Frenzy. Because, yeah, Family Plot did not blow me away in any way, shape, or form. There's the odd shot of, Hitchcock in there, the odd shot of genius, but it does kind of feel like it just feels like a made for TV movie with the odd Hitchcock shot in there. The performances aren't amazing. The opening scene though is a highlight. The ritual scene is fantastic. Is a very good opening to a film, but from there on, kind of loses me. And then last but certainly not least, as a matter of fact, last but best, that old expression, I watched, and I know the term underrated gets thrown around a lot, but this is a film that I haven't really seen thrown about much, but I absolutely was blown away by it. It's called The Spiral Staircase, directed by Robert Siodmak, who's obviously a very prominent director. Directed The Killers, Crisscross, Phantom Lady, Son of Dracula, etc. But it kind of blends film noir and horror. It's such an interesting way. It's a serial killer movie, and it's just something about it. It's so moody. It's got such a likable protagonist and such a detestable antagonist, and that whole combination just works. There's a lot of great shots in here where we see the serial killer and we don't know who they are at this point. But just like the first shot where we see them looking in through someone's wardrobe and all we can see is the eyes is terrifying. It's a fantastic serial killer film noir horror film that I would highly, 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 highly recommend, and would definitely love to cover on the podcast one day. It's not necessarily one of the most prominent films of the 40s, but it is a fantastic film. It's not the best movie you'll ever see, but like it is a guaranteed good time. Couldn't recommend it enough. It's not particularly long movie. The characters are all great. The writing is great. It's shot great. Blends some of my favorite genres. The Spiral Staircase, fantastic, fantastic classic film that you may not have seen. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it a lot. And yeah, that was the episode of the Golden Era Film Podcast where we covered The Big Sleep. Friday, we cover another film noir. Go take a look on our Instagram at the big board to try and decipher what film that will be. Your only clue that we've given you is that it's a pretty dark film. Pretty dark.
Very dark.
But yeah. In the meantime, I've been Harry Bailey.
No, but shame, buddy.
And we will see you all on Friday for the next episode of Noirvember, which I will not tell you what it is. Goodbye.